assessment. This is episode 4, and for any first-time viewers, for the ones who've been joining us, since the beginning. I know Jamie's there in the chat already, but this is your one-stop shop for advice on your fantasy teams. We break down your team position by position. Give our thoughts on how the team is shaping up, as well as specific insights into moves we think you should make to set your team up for success. My name is Rahul. You can catch me on Twitter at nrahul11. I've been writing for Going for Two for a couple of months now. Need to get back on that writing grind. It's too easy to slack, but especially with the fantasy season just around the corner, I got to get back into things. I've also been on a couple shows on Going for Two Live, as well as, of course, co-host of the Fantasy Assessment. I'm joined today by special guest Cody Folden. How you doing tonight?
Oh, not too bad. I also need to get back on that grind. I've been slacking a little bit lately.
Yeah, so why don't you tell the people a little bit about maybe the types of articles you've written, what you hope to write, as well as where they can find you.
So I write for Going for Two and for Dynasty Pros Football. And really, I've been doing a lot of rookie spotlights before, and now I'm getting into kind of buys and sells, I would say, like that.
Mm-hmm.
But also, when it comes to season wise, I mean, we're both really pretty new at this, so I'm kind of just trying to find where I fit in / what I'm comfortable with at the moment. So this is a good place for it too. So I'm pretty excited for it.
Yeah, I definitely hear that. I think Cody and I started writing for the website, or for Going for Two, at least around the same time, and yeah, it was a natural rush of content, one could say, with like the rookie prospects heading up into the draft. And yeah, I'm also trying to find my niche as well. But very happy to have you on the show tonight. We've got one great roster to break down. This podcast will, of course, be on YouTube, so make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for the Going for Two channel. And without further ado, let's get to the roster. So let me go ahead and pull this bad boy up. I was having a bit of technical difficulties ahead of time, so hopefully we don't get that again. Okay. Beautiful. I think, wow, I actually got it to work. And so just really quick, of course, the fantasy assessment is, fueled by submissions of your teams. And the best way to get your roster reviewed is by jumping on the Discord, hopping in the channel. We have a dedicated channel for the show. And it's also a good place for people, other than myself, Jerry Wilkie, my usual co-host, Cody, Josh. Other people just love to jump in and give their thoughts on your team. So really do should hop in the channel. Some great discussion. And as we get through the midst of Scott Fishbowl season, people have already been hitting me up about getting their teams reviewed. So I think that should be really exciting moving forward. So I love this show. I love this show, basically, is what I want to say. So let's dive right into this team. This one was submitted by Big Perm, so thank you for the submission. It is a 12-team, one quarterback PPR league. A bit of an interesting, maybe non-traditional starting lineup format. That is one quarterback, one running back, one wide receiver, one tight end, and 5 flex. So we'll definitely talk about that. That could definitely lead to some interesting builds. So this team, the FF Jerk, is one that lost the playoffs in 2022. I did a little bit of going back through the league history. Actually, was champion of the league in 2018 and 2020. So some pedigree there, Big Perm. But yeah, really, really excited to break this team down. So Cody, why don't you start me off by telling, albeit a small but a very tasty quarterback room in this league for this team.
Yeah, I mean, and with a one quarterback, you really only need 2 in a league like this. That's why I kind of like Superflex just a little bit better, just so that there isn't just the barren wasteland after the first 12 quarterbacks. But in this regard, I mean, he's got two good ones in Derek Carr and Justin Fields. So no matter what you feel like, or if Justin Fields gets injured, Derek Carr rarely does.
Mhm.
So you have a good option there as well, especially and they both have late bye weeks. So I really like those two this year, actually. It's going to be interesting seeing Derek Carr in the black and gold instead of the black and silver, but
Mhm.
it, I think he's going to be in for a good year. And I mean, Justin Fields, I'm a Vikings fan, so I kind of have to not like him, but I will give credit where credit is due. He has the running capability and he is getting better as a passer. So, with that, I mean, he's always a great option to have as well.
Yep. I mean, I completely agree with you there. I think, I won't pretend to be some kind of expert analyst. Even people in the NFL really can't tell you for sure whether Justin Fields is going to be a long-term quarterback. But what we can tell you is that the Bears have boosted his weapon group, of course, with the addition of DJ Moore, and have invested in the offensive line. So, it is a great situation in which for Justin Fields to flourish. So I really do like him, especially, as you kind of touched on, in a one quarterback league where you can bear that risk a little bit more. Very capable backup, but worst comes to worst, if something does happen to Justin Fields, either through injury or if his long-term future isn't secured, will be a little bit easier to go and buy a replacement just because of the depression of values for quarterbacks in this league. So yeah, very, very good room. I agree with you there. So moving swiftly on to the tight ends on this roster. So right there, our man has, of course, I assume the starter here is Darren Waller. Should be in for a big year. He's been kind of hit or miss in the last two seasons, and I'd say mainly due to injury. But moving over to the Giants, I really like the situation for Waller. Coming into this season, could end up as the target leader for the Giants this upcoming year. Provides Daniel Jones the much needed weapon. Behind Waller, Big Perm has Daniel Bellinger. So actually the handcuff for Waller himself, although, tight ends don't necessarily work like that, pass catchers. Evan Ingram is a really good option to have. Maybe a case of surplus value, even, where if you could look to target tight end needy team with Ingram, because you don't really need to upper echelon tight ends in a league like this. And then Dawson Knox, unfortunately, might be a little bit dead with the addition of Dalton Kincaid to the Bills. But I like this room. What do you think about the tight ends we have here, Cody?
So I don't necessarily think Dawson Knox is dead yet, but it's coming. He's lost all of his trade value, that's for sure. But I mean, just like any other rookie, it's going to take a few weeks to get him acquainted. But yeah, he's essentially dead in that regard. But it'll take a few weeks. So if you're gonna play him early. Yeah, we don't know what Darren Waller is gonna be, but we've seen him go for 200 yards before with a quarterback like Daniel Jones. So he's gonna become a security blanket. I do like bicep belly a little bit, so just because he does have gigantic arms, and yeah, like you said, I like that aspect of maybe a trade piece with Evan Ingram, or he's a guy that you can throw into a trade to put it over the top. But we'll get to that later.
Yep. We definitely will. That is my favorite part, I would say, of this show, is giving specific trades. I love just like scheming up new plots, if not for my own team, which, I've looked at endlessly in this off season for your teams.
Yes.
So moving swiftly on, Cody, what do you think about the running back room on this roster?
I mean, he's got a decision to make just to make the one running back every week. I mean, he's got two really good options and maybe a third in Jahmyr Gibbs, but I love Breece Hall and I love Tony Pollard. And he's obviously has had some trades in the past, and he's had some draft pick capital in the past, and he's got some good ones with, like I said, the aforementioned Gibbs, Devin A. Chain, Tank Bigsby, and Deuce Vaughn. And I mean, I'm a huge stan of Sean Tucker. I think he's going to make some waves and make that team in Tampa Bay. So he's got good options here. Again, like I said earlier, you don't need many quarterbacks, but you have options here for even more trades to even make this room even better, or maybe solidify your five flex spots. But I would be playing Tony Pollard and Brees Hall every week anyways. So
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with you there. It's I don't want to use this in a bad sense. It's almost a bit of an imbalanced room where you have kind of very high end pieces. You know, one would expect Jahmyr Gibbs to kind of reach that tier of, let's say, from likely RB6 to, you know,
yeah,
a mid RB1 to high end RB2 this season in Pollard, Brees, and potentially Gibbs with his pass catching upside. It is, of course, a full PPR league, so he really could be a dangerous weapon.
for sure.
When you get beyond that, it's a lot of handcuffs, right? There almost isn't that middle echelon of player, which you might not necessarily want running backs really to fill anyway. But I think this will be an interesting discussion when we get definitely to the wide receivers and then to the trade pieces as to what Big Perm could do here. But yeah, you really can't complain when you have especially Brees Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs, both in, let's say, the top 5, top 6 dynasty running backs, and Tony Pollard, who I'll say it took me a little bit of time to get used to the Tony Pollard, get on the Tony Pollard train. But you know, even let's say even if Zeke or one of those veteran running backs come in, he still was the RB7 last year. In the best case scenario, no one else who would demand that kind of like workload comes in, and the sky is the limit. But in the worst case, we get what we got last year, where he was the RB7. So I'm firmly on the Pollard train now. But I definitely think it's a room for a contender.
For sure. Yeah.
Yep. So I like that there. Let's move on to wide receivers. And you know, there are a lot of names that we're gonna like here. Starting from the bottom, where I think the players I would at least start myself are, and that's Garrett Wilson and Jalen Wall. You know, two receivers who are in demand. Man's also got Brandon Ayuk, great player, Drake London, Dynasty darling. And then, you know, some additional depth in the likes of Michael Pittman, Deontay Johnson, Kadarius Toney, who I am a Toney truther, but he could be someone who is nothing by this time next year. Scary Terry as well. So really a lot of names that you'd like to have in this wide receiver room. What do you think about it, Cody?
Yeah. I mean, even if we look at the taxi squad, he has Quentin Johnston down as well.
Mm-hmm.
With Marvin Mims. I mean, those guys could pop off as well, but he's got a lot of depth in the wide receiver room. He's got veterans and he's got younger guys. He's really built this wide receiver. I would love to have this wide receiver room
Right.
in any of my dynasty leagues, because I would have a hard time finding. I mean, he could easily start 6 wide receivers every week and be happy with it and have a great week. So, I mean, yeah, like you said, I'd probably start Jalen Waddle every week, and then in your flex spots, it's all about matchups. That's the good thing about this roster is he's got a lot of matchups that he could just really play the favorable ones every week and be happy with that.
Yep. I actually even forgot in my run through to mention Keenan Allen,
Yeah.
who's the kind of piece that you really want on what should be a strong contender heading into the season. I mean, this is probably a player he acquired a very long time ago, considering there's not even a year next to the trade. So I'd be
Yeah.
curious to hear how long Keenan's been on this roster. But that's, again, not to spoil too much of the trade segment, but these are the kind of players that you want to add to a team that, could contend, and it's already built up with a lot of cornerstone assets. So yeah, good looking team here. So just before we get into the wrap up segment for the roster, I want to give a little overview of the draft picks, and this will also help us guide our trades, make them a little more specific. This team is missing their 24 second, third, and fourth, which he used in trades. I believe he told us to secure players like Hall and Waddle, if I had that correctly. And he's also missing his 25 seconds. So down a lot of future draft capital. Of course, he does still have his first next year and in the year after. So, it's not really a desperate situation draft pick wise. There is that flexibility. But what do you think about the draft pick situation?
Does he really need him in the next few years because of how young his team is already?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so. I mean, I have no problem with what he's done because he shows that he trades, so that's fine. And he's got, like we were just talking about, he's got depth. He's got younger running backs. He's got younger wide receivers. He's got tight ends that'll work.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, no, I'm not worried about it at all. And he still has his first round pick, which is the only ones that, without providing depth, which he already has, so he doesn't really need to have the second, third, or fourth rounds either.
Right,
So
especially
I'd be happy with how his build is happening. He doesn't need the second, third, or fourth rounds right now.
Yeah, I agree there. And sorry to interrupt, but it is also a one quarterback league, which kind of depresses the value again of those later round picks without QBs to push position players down the board. I did just want to transition over this screen. It kind of shows at least the starters what you could expect from a starting lineup. And we can go back and forth. Just a reminder again of the positions, the roster starting lineup format. That's 1 QB, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end, and then 5 flex. So this would probably be like a projected lineup. We're looking at Justin Fields, Breece Hall, Tony Pollard, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Michael Pittman, Jalen Waddle, Garrett Wilson, and Darren Waller. So really a very nice lineup. What do you think, Cody? Can you give me your thoughts on both the short term, that is, the 2023 outlook, as well as the long term outlook for this team?
I don't see how this team isn't in the championship next year because of what he has as a starting lineup and what he has on his bench.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that would like to start Deontay Johnson, Drake London, and even Juju Smith-Schuster and Cortland Sutton as flex options.
Right.
And
Jameer Gibbs as well. Oh,
Jameer
and
Gibbs and
IU.
IU. Like, he has all these players. I don't know what other teams have. So, I mean, for this year and maybe even the next, I mean, he's going to be a playoff team for sure. So, I mean, it just depends on how active he is in the trade market as well. But, I mean, I don't see anything. If he doesn't make the final, I would be very disappointed.
Right. No, this
If this was my team, I'd be very disappointed in it. And I don't think he will.
This is the kind of team that we all want.
Exactly.
I really love the build. Again, both for this upcoming year, I think it should be a strong contender. But then, the longer term future of this team is also pretty secure with the way that it has been built. Young QB, 2 young cornerstone running backs, 2 wide receiver ones who are Jalen Waddle heading into his 3rd year, Garrett Wilson to his 2nd year. And then players with, room to grow. There is upside for this team to take the next step as well. If you think of players like Drake London, for example, who is a dynasty darling, but one who redraft wise may not be at his full form yet.
Yep.
You've got Quentin Johnston, who should take it. I like kind of like that Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnston dichotomy that's also going this team. So really love what you've done with the team, Big Perm. So before we wrap this up, Cody, can you tell me maybe one or two more specific trades that you'd be looking to do to shore up this team?
Well, the biggest sure up that I would do is probably either try to get one of the other more elite tight ends, or
Mhm.
one of the top 3 quarterbacks. And you have enough players here, and even your first round pick to make it happen. Throw what? Yeah, throw Drake London your first, and see what you can, and maybe even a first or second. I can't remember what he had in 2025. In try to get a Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, or Jalen Hurts. Just really solidify. I mean, because we know what Justin Fields is as a
Mhm.
football player. We don't know what he is as a fantasy asset yet.
The other way around.
And oh, sorry, yes, the other way around. So, like, we don't know if he's actually going to be there.
I
Because I
yeah.
mean, when Trey Lance was starting, I liked him in my lineup, but we don't know if that's going to happen with Justin Fields either. So it just, I mean, he's still a good asset to have, and I'd like him, but just he's got enough players here to make it really big splash for one of those quarterbacks,
Mhm.
or even just solidifying your tight end room too, right? Throwing in an Evan Ingram too, and try to get a Mark Andrews with you first, or something like that, or even throwing in Juju Smith-Schuster, Cortland Sutton, and Evan Ingram to try to get Mark Andrews. That's what I would try to do, to see, just sweeten the pot a little bit, to see if I have the option to play Mark Andrews or Darren Waller. That's what I would
Right.
like to do.
No, I actually really love the what you proposed there with the quarterbacks. I wasn't even thinking that originally, but you could almost capitalize on the current valuation of Justin Fields, which is at its ceiling. It's almost priced in that Justin Fields is going to be a long-term asset
Yes.
in dynasty football, but we don't know if that's actually true. You know, I really wonder what the gap is from a Fields to a Mahomes, an Allen, or Hurst, and you have the assets that you can add on to even to a Fields to make that jump. So I would really love a move like that. Agree as well on the elite tight end. What does it take to move up to Mark Andrews? Maybe not Pitts with this kind of build, but even a Pitts. Um, so yeah,
Sure.
I think you really hit the nail on the head. The only other thing, um, I mean, sticking on this kind of train is trying to acquire more elite pieces. Maybe at wide receiver, there is the capability to maybe shift like a Pittman and a pick. Can you go up and get like an Olave, for example? Can you get Sun God? You know, with the number of starters in this team, depth is important, but when you're keeping the likes of Ayuk, Drake London, yeah, even like a Juju on the bench, you do have the capability to make like a 2-for-1 trade. Um, so yeah, I think this is a team that I'd really love to have, really love to call my own. So well done here. Any quick closing thoughts on the team itself?
Good lineup, good depth, and I mean, he's held on for Clyde Edwards-Helaire this long. Maybe he still gives you some access.
That would be something. I remember in the first episode of the show, we actually broke down Jeff's roster, and this was a thing of beauty, right? It was like stacked with the young players, cornerstone assets here, there, everywhere. And then he was like, "Yeah, I actually won the championship, and Jerick McKinnon was my hero." So CEH kind of profiles that same exact type of back. So you never know. Um, but yeah, great. Thank you for that, Cody. I hope that helped Big Perm. So let us know your thoughts about our breakdown, any potential trades you are actually chasing. Shoot your thoughts in the Discord. But that's what we have for today. So thank you so much everyone for watching. Remember to, hop into Discord channel, get your teams in. We're gonna start breaking down some squat fishbowl teams, which I'm really excited to do. But of course, get your dynasty teams in. If anyone wants a best ball team reviewed, I will look at it because I really do love doing this stuff. But yeah, remember to like, subscribe, turn on your YouTube notifications. And I hope that didn't come up on the recording. But anyway, yeah. Cody, we talked about this a little bit at the start. Just reiterate where can the people find you and your advice?
My Twitter is at Cody Folden, just how it's spelled, CODY, and then my last name. And then I work for Dynasty Pros Football and Going for Two, so you can find my content around there. What about you?
Yeah. I am at nrahul11 on Twitter. I have to get on the Threads game. Is that the future? There's just that one weekend where everyone seems to be getting on Threads.
Haven't done it yet.
Yeah. But I write for Going for Two as well. Love hopping on shows with people as well. So hopefully you can catch some shows that I'm in, and of course this one, the fantasy assessment. That was episode 4. So thank you all